Hey, what's happening, my crazy-eyed killers? So this is a really nice, easy topic, multiplying and dividing rational expressions. So this thing called rational expressions is really just a fancy way to say fractions. So here you have a couple of fractions. We would like to multiply them together. So the thing is, you're not actually going to do that. Imagine if you were to multiply these. This would be crazy. There would be so much work. And combining like terms, and then the same thing on the bottom. You'd have this gigantic answer over here, and then we'd have to simplify, most likely using factoring. So what you do when you multiply and divide fractions is you do all the factoring up front, and GCF, dots, earmuffs, whatever method you can use to factor, and what you'll notice is that you'll get rid of most of your work in the beginning, and what's left is very, very easy to manage. So let's take a look. Here you have two terms, so I'm thinking the only way I could factor this would be GCF. So I have a numerator here that would look like y parentheses x plus 3. Okay, the denominator can't be factored, so we'll leave that as 6x. How about this guy? GCF looks like 2x, which would give me x minus 3. And then that would go over x squared minus 9. I hope you notice that that is dots, the difference of two perfect squares, x squared and 9. So we could factor that to be x plus 3 and x minus 3. Cool. So now, here's the deal. You are allowed to cancel up and down or crisscross applesauce. However, you cannot kill your neighbors. So we're not going to do any left-right canceling. You're not allowed to do that. It's either up and down or on the diagonals. So let's see what we can possibly do here. It looks like if I'm looking for matches, I find them here. X plus 3, x plus 3. They reduce to 1. I have another pair here, x minus 3, x minus 3. They reduce to 1. Now 2x over 6x. Well, I can get rid of the x's. That would reduce to 1. And then 2 over 6. I can reduce those two numbers by a factor of 2, which would leave that as a 1 and this as a 3. Now, look at what you have. There's really nothing left. The only thing left on the top is the y, so we'll move that over to the answer. And the only thing left on the bottom is a 3. So believe it or not, this is your answer, y over 3. Now if you want to be super duper fancy, or if it's a multiple choice test, you might see the answer also written like this, 1/3 y, okay? But look at all the work that that saved us. In the beginning, we were thinking about doing this, which would have just been nuts. So we said, listen, let's just factor first, cancel what we can, and whatever's left we'll deal with. Well, this was certainly a lot nicer in the end to deal with that. Okay, let's go to the next example. Here, opposite factors. This isn't the first time you've seen them, but we'd like to go over them again. Okay, so multiplying fractions, let's factor first. I recognize that that is dots. Okay, times 2 over x. Oops, sorry, my bad. Okay, 2 minus x. Now, we look to cancel out the matching factors, so I have x plus 2 and x plus 2. They're gone. Now these guys here, this is the key. This x minus 2 and this 2 minus x. I hope you recognize that they're opposite factors. What that means is that you can cancel these, but you need to put in a -1. So if they're ever a subtraction, and they're in the opposite order, like x minus 2, 2 minus x, you're allowed to do this for sure. But you're going to want to put a negative 1. Now, here's why this works. So if you could just take 2 seconds to hear me out. If you had x minus 2 and you put it over 2 minus x, let's pick a random number like 7. And let's see what would happen if x was 7 in this fraction. I would have 7 minus 2, and I would put that on top of 2 minus 7. That would be equal to 5 over negative 5. Now, wouldn't you agree that that would be negative 1? So that's where opposite factors come from. It's not some shenanigan or a trick or any kind of magic. It's legitimate math. These two factors, if they were placed on top of each other and you put any number you wanted into x, would result in negative 1. Okay, so that was the main idea for this example number 2. So what you have in the end now is whatever's left up top, which looks like just negative 1 times 2. And there's nothing left on the bottom. That's my answer. Cool, let's go on. Okay, so here's the thing with division. Division is really nothing more than multiplication. What you do is take this guy and flip him. Let's use the reciprocal and turn this into a multiplication problem because that's what we do in math. So we'll take this y squared plus 3y minus 4 over this crazy one over here. Now let's change it to multiplication. And let's use the reciprocal. In other words, let's flip this fraction over. So 3y minus 6 is now on top, and 3y squared plus 3y is on the bottom. Now you're right, you might remember this from middle school, where they called this keep, change, flip. You keep the first fraction, change the operation to multiplication, and then flip the second. Okay, so now we're back to the first two examples. Maybe the factoring might be a little more difficult, but nonetheless, we're going to factor, cancel out the matching factors, and whatever's left we'll deal with from there. Okay, so let's factor this. Looks like y, what adds up to 3 multiplies a negative 4. I'm going to say 4 and negative 1. How about the bottom one? Looks about the same. Y. I'll have something that adds up to 2, multiplies a negative 8. Seems like positive 4, negative 2. Now multiplied by GCF, this one. Not so obvious, but that's the GCF factoring for the top. And on the bottom, another GCF of 3y, and that would be y plus 3. Okay, so now we take a look at the factors we have, find any matches. Remember, you can't kill your neighbors, but you can go up and down and crisscross. So this guy looks good. This one. Oh, the 3s, I like that. Okay, now this is a little more realistic. You know, not everything disappeared. It's not always going to be so pretty. So what was left was y minus 1 on the top of what looks to be y times y plus 3. Unless you can simplify this any further, this is your final answer. So what I'd like to point out is do not think that you can cross out these y's. You're not allowed to. This is about as simplified as you can get it right now. And that would be your final answer. Okay, last one. Now you guys are pros at this. You remember from the last example that we're just going to flip this fraction. We're going to factor everything like crazy and cancel out the matching ones. So if you'd like to pause the video, do the work on your own, come back, I'll have the answer waiting for you. Okay? Good luck. Okay, I hope this was the answer that you received. And that's it for the video. Good luck tomorrow in the worksheet. If you'd like to skip ahead and watch the next video, which deals with adding and subtracting, you might want to, because today was so easy. You might want to just skip ahead to the next video if you have 10 minutes or so, just to get a head start. Okay, take care. Bye.